Why do we actually have that separation between the mind and the heart? That separation between the mind and the heart stems from a very high state, Rosh of Galgalta, or more accurately, when Galgalta started procreating the the Abba of Galgalta, and then there was a Rosh of Aviut and Rosh of Itlapshut. Really? Okay, what does it mean? That the lights are not in their vessels, that there's a deviation between the light and the Kli, and this creates the feeling of deficit. And from the feeling of deficit between one state and another, Gimel of Itlapshut, Daled of Aviut, 4 in clothing, 3 in coarseness, and so on. So there is more than what I have now in my feeling, in my mind, and not in my vessels. Meaning I can imagine myself things on level of 4 of clothing, but I cannot receive them together. This creates already a difference between the desired and the existent. And then how do I attain something that it's in me, but it's not practically mine? Let's say I never saw what a car is. So I'm looking at you sitting in some box and kind of driving and looking at the world like a macho. And I sit next to you and I look and I go like, well, this is not mine, but I have an impression of what it is. Jealousy, right? Envy. The feeling of the gap between the states. And this automatically activates a Kli within me, a mind, a vessel called a mind. It is not in my emotion. I didn't acquire that thing. I don't have a real deficit and desire and ability to enjoy it. But in my present vessel, I can describe the pleasure that is not there in practice, but it shines from afar. And this stems from the gap between the levels. Dalet, Gimel, 4, 3, 3, 2, and so on. And this is where the mind comes from. Meaning the mind comes from the place where I feel that something is missing and I want to attain what's missing. Only from that. If there was no inner light as opposed to surrounding light, for instance, we would never have a mind. A mind always comes when there is a deficit. Where there is a deficit. If there's no deficit, there's no mind. If you give someone everything, then he'll be dumb.